Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. We're glad to see you and appreciate your time this morning. Just going to let people in. All right. Great. We'll go ahead and get started here. Thank you. I know we're a couple of minutes late, so just wanted to make sure that we allow a little time for people to come in, but it looks like we've got everyone in here. So we'll go ahead and get started here. First of all, I would like to have my colleagues introduce themselves real quick before they hop off screen. So go ahead and start, Gabi.
Hi, good morning, everybody. I'm Gabrielle Matul-Wurst. I go by Gabi. I am the Associate Director for Need-Based Programs Implementation. I'll pass it on to Leslie.
Hi, everyone, I'm Melissa Gonzalez, and I'm the program manager for need-based programs.
All right. Thank you, Leslie and Gabi. They will be behind the scenes here today, helping us with the Q&A and yeah, just being generally available in the Q&A function to be able to assist you with questions. And speaking of that, the chat is not available, so please do put your questions in the Q&A function. We will do our best to address all questions, and we will, Gabi will intermittently pop on screen if there's something that's relevant to what we're talking about. If not, we should have ample time to allow for some Q&A time at the end of the session. So I'm Carly Curley. My pronouns are she, her. I'm the Assistant Director of Need-Based Programs. Hopefully your BFF through the interim process as we walk through that together. And I'm just pleased to be here and to provide a little training before we start the next interim process. I can't believe it's here already. So happy to be here. Visual description wise, I have pinkish hair with some glasses, red lips, green background, and kind of a coral sweater. So what are we going to talk about today? We've done some introductions. We're going to talk about a couple of reminders that we would like to go through. Talk about the top 3 that have come from winter interim. Talk about the incremental upload options. And so talk about that process a little bit more. We'll walk through the interim process. So those that are new to this process, we'll do a quick overview of how that process works. And again, we'll have some Q&A time. So we look forward to hearing what your questions are and working through those. First, just a huge shout out and thank you to everyone who completed the Seesaw upgrade survey. We're really thankful for your suggestions, and we really did look through every single suggestion with our IT team and see what we can do and what's being worked on. We've submitted tickets for them. So your suggestions are very important. And just a huge shout out to those that volunteered to be a part of the SFA work group, or not SFA work group, but the work group that we might have for this. We will actually be touching base with you sooner rather than later. Some of the current work that's being done is on the upload portion of Seesaw, so we would love to get your thoughts for file uploads with that. So just a little bit of what's to come from you in your inbox from us. But really, we really appreciate it. It's not too late. If you have suggestions on how to make Seesaw better, more user-friendly, if you have thought about things in the interim report that would be really helpful for you, please feel free to send it along to the WCG email. We're really happy to hear about those and try our best to implement them. So starting off with our Slido, in a few words, what would you like to learn today? This is going to be a word cloud, so feel free just to take your phone, point it to the QR code, and let us know kind of what you're here for today so we can make sure we can address that. Love to see as those start coming in. I'll allow a couple minutes here as people join and start to let us know what they're here for. I'm here to answer questions, hopefully, provide some additional learning. Hopefully the QR code is working. I just want to make sure. Okay, did that just kick everyone off there? I'm sorry, you all. I was just mid presentation, and I think I got kicked off. So I'm back, and let's go ahead and go from where we are here in the presentation. Oh, great. I was thinking no one was putting in anything because I couldn't see anything. So really appreciate you entering key things to watch when doing the interim. Perfect. Full upload. Yep. Don't understand the new upload file process. Okay, great. So when we get to that section, let's go ahead and please ask any questions if I haven't answered your question, but really appreciate your time and letting us know what you're here for today. All right. Do we see any more? Okay. All right. So we're going to go into the reminders process. And this is just a reminder for our summer two schools to get your information into Seesaw as early as possible. This really helps us with funding projections, making sure that we have funding available, which we will for you. Don't worry about that. But I just want to make sure that you're entering the information as soon as you can and not wait until the summer. But also know that there is going to be some late students, late sessions in summer. And so as per usual for our summer two schools, in terms of after final interim, you have until August 1st to enter those students into Seesaw. So we'll talk about that process probably a little bit more when it comes to final interim time and you all about getting those students in Seesaw as soon as possible. Another reminder about how the process works. So being different from last year or previous years, if you've been in, doing this for a long time, this year you probably I'm off mute here. I'm not sure what's happening. I keep getting kicked off of Zoom, so I'm really sorry for the just the delay. So let me go ahead and get back to where we were here. Okay, so for the upload option, essentially what happens is it matches to a transaction number, which is put into your file. That's a FAFSA or WASFA transaction. And if the information does not match, there will be an edit to resolve. So that's kind of like the basics of how the upload function is working for you. A reminder about data hierarchy. This is just more for you if you are wondering how are things calculated when it comes to MFI, when it comes to family's income. This information is available. We do have an email that's out and posted on our website. And I believe we may have this in the manual. If we don't, we definitely have the email in our website to help. And I think that most of you are familiar with this, but please do let us know if you have any questions. Specifically, if you've awarded a student and our system's giving you a different family income and you're not sure why, and it's not something like offsets weren't used or things like that, you can certainly reach out to us. We're happy to look at that for you. So moving on, we're going to talk about the top 3 winter interim questions. For some reason, that particular sentence is always hard. I always want to say winterim questions for me. I think this one tends to be still a persistent question for people, and it really is the confusion between which edit is okay to keep and which one do I need to resolve. And so let's just walk through this again. So when someone gets the student is okay to award, not okay to pay, and hasn't been awarded CVS edit, it's because they have a piece of information that they need to have verified in the checker. So this is a great example here. This student has verify in the high school grad year. There's an estimated date according to OSPI, but in order for that to be a valid year, the school, you would need to collect a high school transcript, can be unofficial or official, doesn't matter, to confirm what their grad year is, update that in the checker. That will turn the okay to pay to yes. When you are updating the information in the checker, it's important to remember that if you do have the high school transcript, make sure you're updating the GPA as well. Because when it says estimated here, you see the high school GPA says no. And that's why you see the 2-year transfer in OK to award. The reason why it says no, it could be their estimated GPA up till that point that we have available was below a 2.0. There's a variety of reasons for this, but you'll just want to make sure when you have that transcript in hand that you're updating both fields to the accurate information from the transcript. If the student has a GED, then you can update that as well in the checker. So there's a GED option. As long as they weren't a former foster youth, you can update that in the checker. That will update okay to award and okay to pay to no. And so that will allow you to award bridge. Now, what's interesting about this time of year is that you're going to request that transcript, and many of you are familiar with this because you've been doing it all year. So you might have tried time and time again to submit the transcript, and you've been working on it, and just nothing has shown up. So the student's been living in this kind of ambiguous world, essentially, of neither bridge nor CVS funding. So there's more information about this in the manual, but essentially after May 1st, schools can update the checker to say transcript requested but not received. When you do that, you'll want to make sure in the reason that you put a note, contacted student on this date, did never receive transcript. What happens when you enter this field into the checker is that it will update the okay to award, okay to pay to no, and that will allow you to award bridge grant to the student. So this is kind of a flux time, and I know that we're starting interim on the 7th of April, but May 1st will be within that time frame for those students. And so the other thing to note is that when you do award, you should be awarding CVS to students with the student is okay to award, not okay to pay, and hasn't been awarded. So when you do that, that's the solution to this edit. It does give you a CVS is not okay to pay. That edit actually can sit there and also is probably a helpful reminder for you all when you're looking for your students that you need transcripts for. They're probably sitting out there with the CVS is not okay to pay edit. And as most of you are probably aware, that is, you can submit your interim report with that edit in play. So we're kind of in the middle of where you can make a change in the checker. Be aware when you do make that change, the transcript requested but not received, that if you do happen to receive a transcript at some point, you will need to update the checker again with that transcript information if you do happen to get it. So that's something that just to be aware of it in terms of like this time frame and how to handle the checker. Okay, more information for you about this is in the program manual, pages 22 through 31. Lots of information about, high school grad at Verify, what to do post May 1st. A lot of really good information in the manual, as you guys are all probably aware, and appreciate how much you use it and refer to it. Okay, probably the hottest question of the year, also for us at WASAC, is when will WASFA corrections be available? And what do I do about provisionally independent students? And so first, I just want to kind of spend a little bit of time, because I don't know if we fully talked about with the community kind of what's going on with WASFA. So essentially what happened in the most simplest form is that the correction file process between our system and our application provider system just broke, and it has to do with transaction numbers and SAI recalculations with the feds this year. So So it caused a huge issue when we tried to send corrections back to our provider so that a new transaction would be created and schools could use that in the system. So what we have been doing is working constantly at trying to resolve this issue. But I have some good news. So lately, what we have heard from our provider is that they found a workaround in terms of working, and this may be too much technical detail, so let me know, but I'm hoping just to let those know who are just curious what's going on, is that there's a script that can fix the errors that are going between both of our systems. So the great news about that is we're in the final stages of testing that, finding out any of the things that are not working, and we're hopeful that we can finally get corrections back on board in the portal. So what does this mean for you as you're completing your interim report? So as you know, you can't, there's not a way right now for you to approve the provisionally independent students who you've done dependency overrides for. Really appreciate your patience as you're working with these students and likely providing funds to them from your own space until we have this corrected. So just want to tell you that we're so appreciative of that as we work on this. If we fix the corrections process as we anticipate, you will be able to approve dependency overrides in the portal. So how that process works, since it's probably been a little while for you all, is those that are able to edit WASFA applications, there will be a button that will provide approval. The specifics we'll let you know about when we have that done. But you basically approve, save your edit, and then a subsequent transaction would come through. You would use that transaction number in Seesaw to match the student, and then you wouldn't have any edits or errors that you've likely ran into this year. If we cannot fix the process, we are going to work on a workaround. We've already started discussing this for provisionally independent students specifically. So in the meantime, the things that you can do is if it's something that a student can correct, have the student correct that on their end. And just know that we're working really hard in this process to get to a better space so that we have corrections available for the community. The last thing that we get a lot of questions on, and this is kind of probably a little comprehensive and also dependent on corrections in some way, is what do we do if a student has a different ID on their WASFA application than this year than they did last year? So maybe you've awarded them on a certain ID in Seesaw, but you're getting there's no FAFSA or WASFA on file edit or something of that nature, and you're trying to figure out what do I even do about this situation. So, and also when a student has a duplicate ID. So a couple things could be happening. When a student creates multiple WASFA accounts, they get assigned multiple WASFA IDs. Or this can happen too when a student adds an ITIN or an SSN, changes a number on their application, and so that changes what number they should be awarded under. So those things are needing to be resolved in a couple different ways. If you find out that a student has multiple IDs in the portal, there's a couple steps that you can do to resolve the issue. So the first question is the student double awarded in the portal in Seesaw? So have you awarded them under the wrong ID and now you've added the new ID, but they still have two different IDs in the portal? So in that case, we need to do a merge, and so you'll need to let us know so we can go ahead and merge those records. When that happens too, you want to make sure that you don't have any funds awarded on the incorrect ID. So a little bit more is to let you know is the hierarchy in Seesaw for awarding is that if the student has an SSN, you award on that. If the student has an ITIN, you award on that. And then if they don't have either, you award on the WASFA ID for WASFA students. So you may have experienced, awarding on a WASFA ID that perhaps you've awarded on for the past 3 years, and all of a sudden maybe the student adds an ITIN to their application, and you're getting the no FAFSA or WASFA on file edit, and that could be a reason why, because now that they have an ITIN on their application or an SSN on their application, they're not awarded according to the hierarchy that our system recognizes. So it's important to talk to students if you have any questions about their ID number to make sure and confirm with them. If you have questions about about the number they've added, feel free to connect with them and ask them, is this correct? I think it doesn't come up very often in terms of, students may have just added a new ID, but certainly students also create duplicate accounts with WASFA. So here's a little step-by-step process. If a student has multiple SSN or ITIN numbers, confirm what number is correct, and then you see the hierarchy here. Once you've determined what the correct ID is and what should be awarded according to the hierarchy, you want to send a secure message to us, to the WCG inbox, and include the student name and the ID that they should be awarded on. And we can make sure that we do any merging that's necessary if it is necessary. So we'll merge the records if we need to. Again, just a reminder for the incorrect ID, if they're awarded under 2 IDs in the system, to make sure all funds are pulled off of that incorrect ID. And once we have corrections available in the portal, you can always update the student's WASFA application to add an ID. So this would be more in the cases of students that have perhaps like a new ID on their 25-26 application, but didn't include it on their 24-25 application, and you want to add it so that everything matches. So we'll talk that process will be more future oriented, but this is just kind of an example of the next steps you can take to make sure everything's matching. Okay, I know we have a couple questions perhaps, and I'm just trying to see if we needed to, let's see.
So Carla, I just wanted to let you know that I'm unable to see any of the questions that are coming in, so Leslie will be your prompt.
Great, thanks, Gabi.
Yep.
Thanks, Leslie. How can I help?
Yeah, they are related to CBS, so I don't know
Okay.
okay. So the first one is from Jade, and they're saying the problem there with the CBS checker is that they may not have attended full time. So if we give them bridge and then they finally submit their transcript, we will have over awarded them and we'll have to bill or swap.
Yeah, so that's why for these students, if they have verify in the checker, you don't want to be awarding them bridge. You don't want to award bridge until you know for sure what their high school information is or were post May 1st. So it's really important if they have a verify in the checker that you are only awarding CBS in the Seesaw system. And then depending on your system, Jade, I think you have the option to award on an offered status for students, and so I think they could be awarded in the offered status, and then so it doesn't disperse. Nothing disperses until they submit that information. So yeah, let us know if I didn't hit that right, Jade. Let me know. Happy to go over that more, but appreciate your question.
And then the next question is the 2.0 GPA requirement for CBS section in the manual only addresses the 2.0 GPA for high school students. If
Mhm.
it's a 2-year transfer, do we look at their college GPA or still their high school GPA for CBS eligibility?
Yeah, great question. It is purely has to do with their high school eligibility. The reason what 2-year transfer means in the checker is that they're eligible at a 2-year school or as a transfer student. So it's not referring to necessarily their status as a transfer student. It's saying they're eligible at a 2-year school and as a transfer student. And this came into play, I believe, the 2023-24 year, where the legislation passed that got rid of the 2.0 requirement for students at 2-year schools or as transfer students to a 4-year school. So basically, the 2.0 comes into play for our 4-year institutions for direct admits into that institution. So that's kind of a little bit more about what that means. But let me know if you need any other clarification on that.
One more just came in.
Yeah.
So if we award bridge after May 1st, then they come back with their transcript later. Do we just tell them that they're too late?
Yeah, so that's a tough one. I think it has to do with um It's not that they're too late. They're you can still we want you to update the transcript information. So that kind of maybe pertains to Jade's question about if you've awarded them bridge. I think Jade, I think that might be what you were getting at is if you award bridge after May 1st and then all of a sudden they come with a transcript. I think, and I might have to follow up on this. Okay, thanks, Jade. So I think the thing is with that particular piece, I think I need to revisit it and let me get back to you. I see that it's Beth and Jade that have the question. I need to get back to you because I think there was a certain degree of, okay, if the transcript comes in, say like July, we're not going to make you like retroactively award CBS, but you just need to award CBS for the future, in future years if the student continues to attend your school. But I want to make sure that's correct, so I'll follow up with y'all after this. Thanks, Leslie. Appreciate it. Okay, moving into incremental file, everyone's favorite subject. As we've been kind of sharing with you all, we are going to get rid of the full file upload, and that'll be happening fairly soon. There's a couple schools we're working with to make sure that they're ready for this, and probably we will send out, well, not probably, we will send out an email to y'all to let you know when this file is no longer available to be used, aka the full file. Incremental file is ready and can be used anytime. So I think some of the misunderstanding with this file are a couple pieces. So what happens, what do we do in the beginning of the interim reporting period? How do we get all our students into Seesaw? And you can use this file just like a full file in the way that you can put all of your student data on when you first upload for the year. So it kind of works just like the full file in that way that you put all of your student data, upload it into Seesaw, and that's how you would use that first upload. So we're just talking about first upload for the year. So subsequent uploads into the system, this will be more of a change only type file, be utilized that way. So I think a really important thing to remember is that by using the incremental file, I think we're used to the full file where if you don't include a student on the file, it would automatically delete the student out of Seesaw. And I think some of the things we learned through the URR process is that that is not correct. That and actually what happens is just the student's information remains the same. So if you don't put a student in the incremental file, their information is going to remain the same in Seesaw. Now, to delete a student, that's where the additional column is, and this is an entire student's record. So if you want to delete an entire student's record, say you awarded them, they never showed up, you need to delete them out of Seesaw, and you want to know how to do that. On the incremental file load, that requires a Y next to their name in the is delete column. That would delete the entire student's information. If you include the student on there and say the award has changed due to enrollment, you would just update the award amounts on your incremental file, and that would be updated in Seesaw based off of your file. So there are a couple things to think about that are different. One, simply not including students in your file will not delete their record. So you need to make sure to utilize the is delete. Two, you only have to include students that have changed information. So if your system is able to do this for you, hopefully this would save time for you as you're doing the interim report. And the reason why is, say you have your full student body that's going on every single full file load. What that used to do is wipe out everything in Seesaw and reload all of the information. So meaning if you've addressed all these edits for students prior, it would actually, you'd have to address them again and again if the information in the awards didn't change what was spurring on an edit, I guess is the best way to say it. So in the incremental file, if your system can work with you in the way that it only generates students with changed information, then you're only having to address potential edits from students that you upload through that incremental file. So that's kind of a savings of time. Hopefully that's how we envision it and how we hope it will work for people. I know that's a challenge, and I know schools are challenged by this, so I really appreciate the time and effort that you're putting into making this change. So I think I've hit those marks there. But just a reminder, $0 awards on the file equal need met. So they don't mean that you didn't award the student. It means that they don't have need. So it's important to differentiate between that. Don't put a 0 if they are ineligible, or they for some reason you didn't award it. Wouldn't want to put a 0. You only want to put a 0 in need met. However, I would highly recommend putting a 0 if they do have need met, because that will save you on edits. And then leave the award amount blank if a student doesn't meet eligibility. So that's what I'm talking about here. Hi, Leslie, I see you. What questions do we have?
Yeah, a couple came through.
Sure.
One is our system is not set up to track changes, so the functionality of the incremental file does not really help.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know that's a challenge for schools. So if you're going to continue kind of polling all your students, in terms of the incremental file, just be aware it would be just like the full file situation where you just have to address the edits each time. But just be aware too that it's really important for you to note if you do have students you want deleted, that you do need to put a Y, by in the is delete file. So I'm sorry that doesn't help with your process, Minty.
Next question is for formatting the award amount and subsequent incremental upload. Say a student received 426 a Washington College grant with the first upload, then later increased to 4,259. Do we
Mhm.
need to subtract the requested first award
Mm.
amount from the updated increased amount, or just put in the latest award amount and the seesaw system will know to subtract what we have previously requested?
That's a great question. I really appreciate that. You can just put in the new award. You don't need to do any of the math or anything like that. Seesaw will do it, for you. And what will happen is when you request funds, that difference, will be requested in the funds request. So you don't need to do anything specific or different with how you're reporting awards. Thanks for asking.
And that's all for now.
Thanks, Leslie. Okay, so a little bit more on the incremental file. So one of our fabulous people in the community was asking, hey, to help with my setup, it would help to have the all student awards report, which is the same file format as your interim file. It would help to have that in the incremental file format. And so that has been adjusted to let you know. And it is live right now. So if you go to the All Student Awards report, and where that is in Seesaw, and then the reports in the menu, you can download all your students and it'll be in the incremental file format for you. So just want to let you know that's available in a tool for you. For our CTC folks, we heard about some upcoming training, for CTC Link, and I just wanted to make you aware. I believe this email went out to the community. Just wanted to make you aware that these options are available to you, to assist with CTC Link processes. And yeah, wanted to share that with y'all. If you're looking for the file layout template, we always have them available on FAA resources. If you're not on FAA resources, make sure you are, on there, and you can find a bunch of information, such as MFI charts. We have the 2025-26 MFI chart on there, and the layouts will be on there, program manuals, everything you need as an FAA. But certainly if you're looking for the file layout, you can find it there. You can also find it when you're in the upload tab in Seesaw. We'll have the file template. We're going to be removing the full upload template here soon. And just like we mentioned, it's going to be discontinued here very shortly. So before we walk through interim, is there anything that we need to go through? Leslie, I see we have a question. Should we walk through that right now?
Yeah, and you had a follow-up question. If we're canceling all state aid for a student in subsequent reports, will they stay in Seesaw since we did not mark them for deletion?
Yeah, so it depends. If you have them on your report, it depends if you have them on your report or not. So if you have a student that you need to cancel all state aid for the student, and you did not include them on the incremental report, and you did not put a Y, it won't delete the records. It could be that you have the state aid as blank, and I think that will also delete the awards, but I do think you need to have a why to delete the record for the student. So let me follow up with you, Inti. I want to make sure I'm giving you exact information on that. Thanks for asking. All right, you all. So we're going to go through the interim report now, and you're welcome, Inti. Okay, so we're going to go through the interim report. I just want to welcome you all if you're new and joining us for the interim part, because this is an interesting reporting process. Can be a lot when it's your first time, and so just know that we're here for you, and we'll go ahead and go through this. So the interim process is basically like a moving process of what you need to do to be able to successfully submit your report. And so you can kind of see here the different steps that you'll need to take in order to submit your report successfully, and what you want to do in order here. So I think of it the same way as how we have Seesaw situated. So we have it kind of situated in the steps you need to take. So you'll see the arrows here because the first step is definitely going to be to upload and then address edits and then request funds. And so it's thankfully laid out in such a way that is exactly the steps you need to take in order to complete it. So we have the first step here, and that is to upload your file. So when you go through the file upload process, hopefully, you put it in there, you choose your file, everything's successful, no probs. If for some reason there's something wrong with your file, our system will let you know exactly what it is, and we'll say what line on your CSV is not working or what's missing. So we'll certainly let you know if there's something you need to change on your file, and you'll begin that process here. So an important part is you can't see the save upload button when you're actually uploading your file. A lot of times, just depending on your screen, so it's important to scroll down. Your upload won't save unless you click on the save upload button. So really important for you to remember as you're going through this process to save it. Also really important is to look at the information that you have uploaded. So if you're looking at, Bridge and CBS and you see, oh, there's $500 reported. Well, that's weird. That doesn't seem like the amount that I intended to report for all our students or for the changed students. So make sure you're reviewing your information as a check to make sure that, it's the right CSV file that you pulled. The information is looking correct in what you anticipate to put into Seesaw. So the next step that takes the most amount of time for everyone is the edits part. And so once we have your file uploaded, there's going to be some edits that you may need to address, and you need to click either on the address edits button or click on the edits tab to start accessing that information. So when you access the edits tab, a list of all the edits will be listed there, and they'll be under the different types of funds, or as you can see here, general edits that might be in place. So how to tackle those edits? I think everyone has a different methodology on how they do it. A student may have multiple edits. So when you resolve one edit, you may be resolving multiple edits, which is good news as you look at them. So also a good thing to note is the different types of edits. So we have edits that are overridable, that are informational, and non-overridable. So non-overridable edits have to be addressed in order to submit your report. There's nothing, they just have to be fixed, and you have to do whatever it is to fix those in order to fix the edit itself. So they can't be overridden for certain circumstances. They just have to be fixed. For overridable, there may be reasons why you awarded something. So maybe you've awarded a partial CBS amount, and there's a reason for that. Maybe you had need met with other grants and scholarships, which is a very common reason. And you would indicate that in the override, and then that would fix your edit. The informational edits are always good to be reviewed. There's a lot of reasons why students sit in the informational. Could just be QER, FYI, could be that they're under awarded in WCG. And there's reasons you likely have them awarded that way, but it's always good to address those and look at them. However, you don't have to be able to submit your interim report. So you will want to click on an edit to view the students associated with that edit once you're ready to work on them. So for example, here we have the bridge students must receive maximum Washington College Grant Award. And you can see they're by student. Usually there's information with their SSN. You can see that there is the amount they've been awarded in Washington College Grant and the amount they've been awarded in bridge, their credit enrollment. And you'll see that there's a couple different options on the side here. So you can address edits and adjust awards in this space. However, we do like to suggest that you can click on the student's name. There will be a little arrow by their name to look at their detail record and see what's going on. Oh, why did we award less Washington College Grant and we awarded full bridge? And you have a couple options on this page as well. If say you needed to just adjust the Washington College Grant and you knew that maybe it was just an error, you could just adjust it and click save. That will resolve the student. You can also click the override button. That will give you certain overrides that you can use to override the student. And you can also delete awards. So you have many options on here, but we always recommend looking at the student themselves if you need more information to make your decision on what to do with the edit. Sorting by last name can be helpful, just to kind of start the process with students. And like I said, if you know the override already, you can do it directly on this edit screen and go from there. Okay, so for step 3 edits, we are still in the edit section, but speaking of the student detail record, you will want to click on the little triangle icon. It's like a box with a triangle. That box will give you what the edits the student has, and they could have a term level edit, which would be on like the fall, winter term, or they can have what we call student level edit, which is on the top of a given academic year, and that affects every term. Hey, Leslie, I see you. How can I help you?
Yeah, there was just like a tip that was listed. I'm not sure if this is useful, but for new people, can you please tell them that they can download the CSV and then make it into a table, which then makes it easier to work with, just to make sure to save it as a worksheet and not a CSV.
Oh, great. Yeah, for edits, that's great. Yes, you can download it and save it. That's a really excellent tip. I also know that some schools work their edits in the training portal. So if we haven't talked about that in multiple of these spaces, really important for you to know that um, that you can work in the training portal. It's reset every day, the training portal. So even if you're just trying to test things or you're trying your best just to understand how things affect each other, that's an excellent tool for you and can be an excellent tool for edits. And do we have other questions?
Yeah, and then Michelle says we run the incremental upload before interim report opens on April 7th, or does that matter? Should
Mhm.
we be uploading multiple times during when the interim report is open?
Love that, Michelle. Yeah, that's a great question. You can upload anytime. You don't have to just be in the interim period to upload a file. And you can begin working on that if you want to. You just can't submit your interim report until after the reporting period's opened in Seesaw. So if you are truly using an incremental file and you're doing changed only information, so say, for example, you run that process once a month and you want to put the changed students in there through the file upload process, you can absolutely do that. That's no problem. But yeah, hopefully I answered your question there. You can upload anytime and feel free to do that when you want to. Just know you can't submit your interim report until after the interim reporting period opens.
And the last one, I think you'll be addressing this later, but can we get clarification on when the all student award CSV layout was updated?
Just happened, Stephanie. So that just happened it was either yesterday or Monday. So we just did it. So we need to Okay, that's good to know. We'll work with you on that. Let's see. I see. Sorry, I'm reading these two. You want to let me know what the next one is?
Yeah, I am one of the colleges that uses the training portal, but over the last week it has been tanking every time I try to use it and forces
Mm.
me into logging in every 1 to 2 minutes. Do we know what is happening with that?
Oh yeah, sorry to hear that, Megan. I don't know what's going on with that. And yeah, I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure what's happening, but we'll look into that for you. If that ever happens where there's a performance issue, please write into WCG so that we can kind of look into it with our IT team. And we can see if there's something going wrong with how the performance is working. And so if anyone else has problems with the training portal, please do let us know because we want to reach out to our team about that.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. Okay, so back into edits. When we're in the student detail page, you can click on the triangle icon, like I said. That's where any information will be. But also, what's really important about this is if you come to the end of your interim process and we've written to you and we've said, hey, there's a couple things that need to be fixed. We've reverted your report. Here's what needs to be done. We'll have information. There's always comments in here. So every single override that you put through is reviewed by our team. And if we have a question about something or something might be incorrect, we'll put notes on there if we don't approve the override. And this is where you access that information. So by clicking on the triangle, looking at it, and you'll see our override comments. So just something for future as well. When you have figured out, okay, hey, this is what I need to do. I need to edit the student amounts. You can click on the edit icon, which is like the pencil with the box. And that information will essentially allow you to click and edit any of the student details. This includes information like their transaction number, their ID, if you're fixing an ID, but also their award information. You can just type the information or you can use the garbage can to delete information. Once you have everything completed the way you want it to look, you click update student and that will update their record. If you refresh the page, you'll probably notice that the edit is gone if you've resolved all edits. So a couple different things more on edits, probably a couple questions, and we've talked about this last time, but just so you're aware. So the one that's new for this year, student does not have FAFSA or WASFA on file. And this just means that Seesaw can't match to a financial aid application to the student. It's not linking the application to the student. So a couple things to troubleshoot this one. Could be student ID doesn't match. So I know we've talked a lot about that. And I think that's been something that we've talked about throughout this year. Is their ID is not the right one, so maybe they're awarded on a WASFA ID, but they have an SSN or an ITIN, and they should be awarded on that. Student hasn't listed your school on their financial aid application, so that would be kind of a more unique one because likely if you have awarded them, you've had their financial aid application, but just in case, that's one that could happen. Student transaction number doesn't match the FAFSA or WASFA. So just remember that WASFA numbers start with a 50 and then go up from there. And then FAFSA numbers start with 1. So it could be that you have a WASFA filer that you've awarded under, a 1, but they really should have a 51 in place. So something to be consider when you're thinking about this edit. Another one is the student has been awarded WCG and WGA in the same academic year. So if the student has had Washington College grant at your school, and we also have record that they've received WA grant for apprenticeship, this appears that you'll receive this edit. And there's a couple override options in this case. So WASAC to verify that the student is not over awarded between WCG and WGA. So basically what happens is you don't know the status. So you can use that option and let us know. That shows up on our side. We work with our apprenticeship team and we likely might have some questions for you to see what types of courses they're in, things like that, just to not make sure that they're not double awarded for the same program. And then there's the option if you've already been working with us, my college paid on adjusted COA, tuition and books only. So this just works just like duplicate or concurrent awarding between schools. So one school would pay on the full cost of attendance, the other would pay on adjusted cost of attendance. And the way that we determine that has to do with when the student received the funds first, who they received the funds through first. and they're paid to from first. So that takes some time for our teams to work together. So feel free to use whatever override option works for you. Next up is request funds. So for the spring term, we will require you to request funds in order to finalize your report. So make sure that you are requesting funds as a part of your process. And if that does involve a different office, make sure you're connecting with them, having them request those funds prior to submitting your report if you can. If you can't before you submit your report, having them do that very shortly after. Easiest way to do this is to choose all students by program. And since we're in the spring term, you will have almost all of your quarters selected. Oh, and I realized I didn't update here. For spring court, it should, or spring interim report, it should be summer 1, fall, winter, and spring terms that should be selected. So make sure you always select all. It's okay if it's a negative amount. That is totally fine. And you don't need to, and that's probably on my next slide here. Once you agree to request all the funds, you will receive confirmation. So also, as you are requesting funds, you'll see an CSV icon in case you want to have a record of every student that you requested funds through. And you can use that information if needed, and if your business office requires that, or finance office. You'll see a confirmation if the funds were successfully requested. And like I said, you'll receive a confirmation email about that. So I'm sorry, I meant to say here that if you have a negative amount, you do not need to repay WASAC at this point. All of that repayment, how everything settles out after the end of the year, happens at final interim. That's the final reconciliation. And essentially what happens is we just keep your negative amount in our system until you have an overall positive net request, or later on after final interim is done, you would just have to repay the funds if you can continue to have a negative amount owed. But you don't need to worry about that throughout the year. All right, so you've done all the work. You're ready to submit your report. You requested funds, and you want to make sure that you're looking at these different tabs. I was not as familiar with these when I was an FAA, so I didn't know about the award and payments, total eligible. This is just a good quick check for you that everything looks right. Okay, you're like, yes, that seems like the amount of students that are receiving state aid. This amount makes sense that we've requested, and just doing a triple check about that. Once everything's been reviewed, you should have the submit interim report as a blue button for you to submit. If it's grayed out, that means you still have edits to review that need to be looked at before you can submit. Once you do submit, a confirmation email is sent to you and is sent to us to let us know. And then we will then review any overrides and contact you if there's any changes that need to be made to your report. So last little reminders for this report: request all payments before submitting your report. If there's an outstanding balance, you don't need to pay us. Pay close attention to the due date and start early. So would love for you all to start as early as possible. It's great. And what happens is there's an influx of people at the end of the time period, and then the system gets really slow. So it would be awesome, and I would encourage you if you can start working on it early and submit early as you can. And then ask questions. We're here for you. Our team is here for you. If you don't understand anything, it can be anything. There's no bad question. Reach out to us and email us at WCG. So I know we don't have very much time left, but I just wanted to open the space for any questions that you have, any remaining questions. I want to thank you all so much for your engagement as we've gone along here. Give a little space and time for anything. All right. Well, it looks like we don't have anything, right, Leslie? Just checking. Oh, okay.
Yeah, last due date reminder for spring interim.
I think it's May. Oh gosh, that's a great question. No, what is it? Let me take a look. I know we start April 7th, and it's going to be due May 5th. Thanks for asking. Yeah, so we'll have May 5th. All right, everyone. Really, really appreciate you all. Thank you for your time. Follow up with us at WCG if something didn't make sense. And then for those of you that I told I was going to follow up with, I will. I've noted, we'll note your questions. We'll make sure to get back to you with everything that we promised. And have a wonderful day and happy interim reporting. I'm here for you. Come over if you need any training or anything like that. I want you to be successful, and I'm happy to spend some time with you to help you with this report. So have a wonderful day, you all.